co-host Omar of Omziel.
And I'm your co-host Cameron of ARMEW. Big, and we're also streaming live on onthewakeupradio.com. Big shout out to super producer Cindy Ashby.
Yes, same here. Big shout out to Cindy Ashby. Much respect. But we also streaming live on Instagram, Facebook, and the YouTube channel as well. So, all right, brother. Let's go. Let's do
Yeah,
it. Let's
man.
do it. Oh,
So,
yes. Before we do
mhm,
start, I
yeah.
did want to mention that if you stay to the end of the podcast, we have something nice for you. We have the Purple Sage Festival coming up again on September 21st. Even bigger, better. We have all kinds of sponsors and other people who are vending items and food and beverage and all of these good things.
Mm,
So stick around to the end. We're gonna help you out with that energetic exchange as well as something else that I got on my mind too. So
mm,
yeah, stick
beautiful,
around. Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah.
beautiful.
We're making these things beautiful for people, you know?
Yeah. So
Mm.
today was an interesting day. But how you doing today, brother?
I'm doing fantastic, brother, as always. Thank you.
Yeah. So today was a good day. It was an interesting day
Hmm.
because I was brought to a surprise event. It was a surprise for me. It was actually one of my clients, and we had a conversation a little while back. And she said something interesting to me, right? Because she went to a Jill Scott concert.
Hmm.
I might be wrong about who she said. It wasn't Jill Scott. No, it was India Ari. And she said something along the lines of India said something along the lines of letting life, oh man, is it transform you I can't remember the exact words, but it kind of hit me when she said like, oh damn, right? Because it's like this whole thing about being spiritual, right? There's a thing about being a spiritual person. What does that mean? I feel like you ask 10 different people, you'll get 10 different definitions of what that is. But, a lot of times people think it's all about, snapping fingers and loving cupcakes and rainbows and unicorns and stuff like that. But it's like, nah, like spiritual people have also been through hell, you know what I mean? So there's something to be said about when you're really interacting with life and interacting. Like if you feel like shit, you feel like shit, and it's okay to feel that way. If you're angry, I was just talking to someone the other day and they were angry, but he was okay with being in that space of being angry. He wasn't running from it. So to me, that's part of spirituality. I think spirituality is mental health, right? So this client brought me to this it's an expo, and if you're in New York City, Jersey, if you're in the tri-state area, you should definitely check it out. It's called the Strangers Project. And
Mm.
have you heard of this?
No, I have not.
Strangers Project. You go in there, and there are just all these sheets of paper all over with writing. People actually writing their stories, whatever it is. You see from children, a lot of children. I see a lot of, oh, I'm 7, I'm 8, I'm 10, and you just hear some of these stories, and it's like just a snippet of somebody's life, whatever they want to write. And it's so interesting, brother, because so many people are craving connection.
Mm. Mm.
You have people saying, I'm lonely. I don't have anybody. There's nobody I can talk to. Like this, I heard, man, there's
Mm.
some
Mm.
stories, you know what I mean? And you read some of these things, you're like, wow, like for
Mm.
me the magnitude of it, right? Because I was in there and already it's like you walk in there, it's like, oh, there's some energy in here, right?
Right.
And the founder, he's real friendly, and he's been doing this for years now. I can't remember his name. Is it Brandon? I'll come
Mm.
back to you on that. But
Mm.
he's just sitting back there in the back, and he greets you, but he doesn't interfere with your experience. He's just holding space for everybody.
Mm.
And I mean, you see happy stories, sad stories, love stories, people like I saw one, it was a mother, and
Mm.
she was explaining that, she's now a caretaker for her mother,
Mm.
and she's going through that, and she knows one day that her children are going to leave her, and her greatest, if you want to call it, pride and joy was having her children. But now she's realizing, like, oh, there's this whole empty space. It's
Mm,
not as fulfilling as I thought it was going to be. Not that she doesn't love her children and that it's not fulfilling,
mm,
but it's not the same type of fulfilling that she was expecting. And so, she's expressing this to millions of strangers, anonymously expressing this to millions of strangers around the world. And you never know, like, she may have never been able to speak these words to the people who think they know her the best.
mm. And
And
there it
so,
was, the opportunity with writing the
yeah,
on the paper. Yeah.
yeah. So being in there, you see love stories, you see breakup
Mm,
stories, you see people who
mm,
just went through breakups, and it's just interesting to be in that type of space and realize how much
mm,
people are craving connection and how
mm.
similar we really are as human beings.
Right, right. Yeah, they do say that, if there are any intelligent life in the universe, and if they do come here and visit us, they would just look at us and go, "What are you fighting about? You're all the same."
I think so. And I think we experience the sameness at different times. You know what I mean?
Mm, mhm, mhm. I
Like,
do. Mhm, go
people
ahead.
have religious wars
Mhm.
over what? Because they have different religions. But if this person's family gets hurt or killed and this person's family does, they're gonna feel the same.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And they're praying to the same God, by the way.
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
yeah. I'm just putting it out there, but that
Hmm.
that happens. Not to step on anybody's toes, but
Right.
take the Middle East for instance. Like,
Hmm.
supposedly the so-called Jews and the Palestinians and all of that. If you were to look a little bit closer, they look the same almost, bro. And they even
Right.
almost sound the same. Their language is almost the same.
Right. I
It's
mean, they have
crazy.
similar words. If you hear the
Similar words, and the
alphabet
chab and the
slash number system,
yeah, yeah,
you
it's
know?
crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm looking up the brother that you're speaking about. His name is Brandon, and it's an
Brandon.
art exhibit, and it's with over 95,000 handwritten stories, bro.
Yes.
Wow. And stepping into
Yes.
this space, it looks, bro, just yes. Yeah, the
It's
energy is there.
it's real. I'll tell you one
Mm,
that I saw that really interested me. It's one,
mm,
I don't know why, but it did something when I was reading it. It's something positive, I would say,
mm, mm,
because it was a young lady who was a sex worker, and she said she was doing this, making buku bread, and then she left that world, and now she's working for some big corporation. She was like a corporation that you all know,
mm,
you know, and so she's in there,
mm,
and it's almost like the Matrix. You know what I mean? The way that she described it, because she's like, I know these type of men, these
mm,
CEOs and this and that. People are basically kissing their backsides,
mm,
but it's like, I don't, because I
mm.
know these type of men,
Right.
and so even she'll carry herself a certain way in this environment,
Mm,
just to kind of play with them on a certain level. Or it's,
mm,
I don't even want
mm,
to say play with them. It's just, to her, they're nobody. You know what I mean? And
mm,
if they
mm,
call her in for, come into my office for coffee, she was like, they don't even call in my managers. They don't even know my managers' names, but they know my name.
mm,
You know what I mean? And so,
mm,
and she's not doing that work anymore. She's not doing anything like that,
mm,
according
mhm,
to her. But
mhm,
she's operating differently in these spaces. And she was like, millionaires, billionaires, politicians. She's like, I know these people. I know who
mm.
they really are.
Interesting.
And
Interesting.
right. And again, she's like sitting in some company somewhere.
Right.
And you know what I mean? Like a fly
Right.
on the
Mm,
wall looking at
mm.
these people.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. So profound. I mean, the art is supposed to make us think, right? and
Right.
and when we do think of art, we rarely think of God,
Ooh,
right? You see,
right,
but God is the ultimate creator, bro. The ultimate creator. I mean, just
right.
we're not looking around. We're just not looking around because they have us in this world of plastic and glass and metal and all of these things. But just
Hmm.
spend a little bit of time in nature,
Right.
see some of the animals that are there, and look at them a little closer and how they behave, and things that, just look at your body, your human body. Who made us?
Right.
Who did this, bro? Where you eat the food and all of the minerals and the vitamins go to its proper way, and in the digestive system, and then the waste, whatever's, is ejected.
Hmm. Right.
It's incredible, you know.
It's it's incredible. And even you talking about religion. Have you ever heard of this book? Oh man, it's called like the Lost Books of the Bible.
I am aware of it, and some of the other books, like the Gospel according to Mary Magdalene,
Right.
and other, yeah.
That might be in there, but in that you have the
Mm.
books of Adam and Eve, and in the books of
Mm.
Adam and Eve, they
Mhm.
say they were found in Egypt or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And in those books they talk about when Adam and Eve fell from grace.
Mm.
And in that, it was interesting because they go through the steps, like Adam and Eve killed themselves like a dozen times, half a dozen times
Mm.
in that book, right? They're like, "Oh man, this sucks. Like, let's go," and it just drown themselves. You know what I'm saying? And God was like, "Nah, you
Mm.
can't do that. Bring you back. Like, I brought you out of
Mm.
paradise because they knew that
Interesting.
they were going to keep going back to paradise." And so,
Mm.
He made them hungry, and then, oh man, we got to eat. So they ate some food, but then they're like, "Oh man, my stomach hurts." God's like, "Oh right, digestive system. Let me give you a way for that food to exit." It's like, did that really happen?
Right,
I don't
right,
know. But
right.
like you're saying, it's like we're created as this perfect system
Mm. Mm.
to process energy, to process waste.
Yes, 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 yes. You're right. And then you think about this expulsion from where they were, from the Creator, right? And some believe that really was the punishment, is to be away from the Creator.
Right,
I'm not saying that I believe of any of these things.
right,
Let's
right.
just put that out there. I'm just right,
Right,
because
right, right.
we're just really
Mhm.
trying to get clear, because that's what the
Right,
clarity code is about. We're trying to give
exactly.
you the code so you can get clear on some of these matters that are important in life. And this is a huge one, because like you
Right.
said, we're lonely. That's what humans are. We seem to have lost that connection with the divine, and our divineness as well. So
Right.
we turn to all of these scriptures and all of that. I heard this story the other day, Cam, where Elmo, right, the hand puppet,
Hmm.
sent out a message saying, "Hey kids, how are we doing today?" And then got back all of these messages, and then it sent up red flags, and people were alarmed. Why? Because kids were sending in messages saying, "I'm sad, I'm depressed."
Mm.
Depressed? A kid,
Wow.
young, under the age of 10? Oh man, it
Wow.
was alarming. It was alarming, bro. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
This is the society that we're living in now. It's just that disconnection from that divineness.
Right.
You know. But
Wow.
but but where does that reside? Where does the divineness reside? Where is it? Where would you say?
So I was, I came to this kind of came to this conclusion, but then I was listening to something the other day. What do we say, right? What do we say? What do brothers say? Everything is everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
something that we've been hearing for our whole lives, most likely,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Well, if you go to the African perspective of God or divinity, that's what they say. Literally, what they say. Everything is everything. What is God? Everything. And
Mm.
I was listening to something the other day, and it was so interesting because the I can't remember the elder's name, but he was basically saying atheism only exists in a certain paradigm, right?
Mm.
Like in
Mm.
the African paradigm, atheism can't really exist. because you don't have this duality, good, evil, all these things, good, bad. It's not that type of thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And their concept or perception of God is that God, if you want to call it that, is everything.
Mm,
So
mm,
how could you be atheist if you believe that the creator is everything? Like we are part of the creator. Everything that we see is part of the creator.
right. Right.
So how can you do like, oh, I don't believe in that. Like I don't believe in reality. You know what I'm saying? Like that type of mentality doesn't even exist in that traditional thought system.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, where other belief systems, they'll be quick to separate things right away. I mean, that's
Right.
probably why we go down this path, of disconnection, because they've already done that.
Right.
There's some belief systems that they tell you, you know, you a sinner, and be like, why? I just showed up.
I just
I
got
just
here.
got
Like
here.
I don't know what's going on. I'm still trying to figure this place out.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
But I was
Why?
created in sin, and I'm gonna burn in the
Yeah,
fire.
yeah,
Like, ooh,
yeah, forever. You're not gonna do like a 20-year bid.
right,
Yeah,
like
yeah, no, this is the
forever.
eternity.
You're gonna be here for max 120 years if you're lucky,
Yeah,
and then you're
yeah,
burning in the inferno,
yeah,
fire and
yeah,
brimstone. Like,
yeah, yeah. It's just wild. It's just
it,
wild. It
and you
sounds
know
like
what? And
control.
so that goes back to your question: why are these children so jacked up with
Mm,
depression?
mm,
My
mm,
thought is because they're coming from that type of philosophy.
mm,
Even
mm,
if they're not raised in it, if you look at our society, Western society right now, that's what they're
mm.
teaching people,
Yeah. Mm, mm,
you know?
mm, mm,
And the idea of punishing people, the idea that people
mm,
aren't good enough,
mm,
children aren't good enough.
mm, mm.
That's what I think.
Okay, okay. So here you are at this place with all of these letters, and people are writing these deep things, right? Because
Hmm.
very few, I'm sure, were like, "Hey, I'm happy," and then just put it up, because I could see that there's, quite some writing there. People took thought, to write
Hmm.
these things out. But
Right.
my question to you is like, where is it? Where is that connection? Where do people find it? You know, where do they
Within the
find it?
mind,
Yeah, yeah. Where do they find it? To try to make that deeper connection.
I think it's different for so many people
Mm,
because some people find it through religion. Some people go back to religion because they feel they've strayed from the path,
mm, mm,
right?
mm. Right.
Then you have some people who go through adversities and
Mm,
they tap back in. Maybe they tap in with their creator, and
mm,
then I don't know, like because you have some people who are atheists. So does an atheist deal with spirituality at all? Do they have their own form of spirituality? Do they have their own form of connection,
mm.
despite their belief system or system of non-belief?
Well,
Uh,
they do believe. They do have a belief system, because I've thought about this too. They believe.
what do
They,
they
they, they
believe?
believe. They believe that there's no God.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother.
Right. So they go,
Thank
no, I don't believe. Yeah, you do believe.
Thank
You
you.
do. Yeah, you just believe
That's what I
that there's
tell my
no.
atheist friends. I mean, you
Right.
believe there's no God.
That's
Because
right.
can you prove there's no God? And that's the thing they say, because
Mm,
the burden of proof is on the
mm,
person who's
mm,
making the claim. I get that.
mm,
But
mm,
to me, you're in the philosophical system that says that there is no God or no gods, no creator, nothing like
mm.
that.
Right.
So
Right.
I think it is a belief system.
For me, Cam, what happened to me, I can only talk about my own personal experience. When I
Hmm.
was coming up, um, I was brought up in a, a Catholic belief system. So it was telling me, just pray at night, pray for your food sometimes, go to
Mm.
church like on Easter, just Easter. Make sure you got a
Right,
nice suit on, get by, and then go. And that was the extent of it.
right.
I was part of that, Catholic, um, belief system, but
Right.
as I got older and I started hitting the teen years, because my old man left when I was 9. So when the
Mhm.
teen years came, the streets were there, and it hit me hard. Like I was there in the streets all the time. And then I started doing things like very nefarious things I would have never done before. I was robbing grocery stores and cars, stealing cars, all kinds of crazy things, bro.
Mhm.
Hurting people, selling things, and then there was substances too. But then at some point I was like, you know what, I can't take this. I don't want
Mm.
this. And then what I did was at night, I I just prayed to God. I had to speak out. I
Mm.
spoke the words out. I had to verbally speak it out. And my prayer was,
Mm.
are you real? Are you really there?
Mm.
I heard nothing. There was silence. No return. And then I said, you know what? I'll look for you and show yourself to me. And that was that. I went to sleep, and the next day I started looking. I started going to church with the family member. Sunday came and I went, and you know it was just one of those situations where some guy was talking way in the front. I could barely hear what he was saying. It
Mm.
was boring, like I was almost falling asleep. And
Mhm.
then there's this thing where everybody stands up, they turn, shake the brother's hand, on the side kind of thing, in
Mhm.
this ritual, and then
Right.
everybody just ushered themselves out. And I was like, man, I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it. And I went back at night again and I said, I'm looking for you. Show yourself to me if you're real.
Mm.
A few days passed and I was walking in the street with a cousin of mine and his girlfriend at the time. And we came across these three people, and they spoke to us about the love of Jesus, and the forgiving. He died for your sins, and you're a sinner, and he's there to forgive you and all that. And they gave me a track. If you know what that is, right? It's a piece of paper saying a
Mm.
little story. It's a story of how Jesus can save you. It's
Okay.
two tracks. I guess
Mm.
with that in mind, it's a track to
Okay.
get you somewhere, right? And it had the address, and they said, yeah, if you want to come on Sunday, we're at this church over here. So Sunday came, I ironed my clothes and everything. I was ready. I went over there to the church,
Mhm.
and this was a different scenario, bro. Like the guy was talking so loud, he was talking to me, like next to me.
Mm.
This was a Pentecostal church.
Right, right. Okay, different type of church.
Different type, bro. This you saw they bring the fire,
Mhm.
and the real fire too, fire and brimstone, telling
Right,
you that
right.
with the fear base, like heavy, like with the God that's waiting right around the corner with his big boot heel to step on you and squash you,
Right, right,
right?
right.
But if you came up and gave your life to Christ, then you be all right. Don't worry about
Mhm.
nothing else. The financials, and no, don't worry about that. So yeah, I was sold. I went up, and I accepted Jesus Christ as my personal savior, and I was off to the races, man. And I went every
Mhm.
Sunday, and I did that. I became an usher and all of these things, and very active in the church. Met some people. Met a woman too, and you know how that goes.
Mhm. Mhm.
Dated a few. Because
Right, right, right.
they say if you're looking for the devil, go to church.
Wow.
Right?
Right,
For real.
right.
But in any case, I did that for a few years, Cam, but
Mhm.
it started breaking apart. The whole
Mm.
system, how there was so many cracks in it, and here was the pastor driving up in a new car of the year,
Right, right.
and he just bought a new house, and I was struggling at home. Mom was on welfare, man. I was at the food
Mm.
bank, with the carriage trying to pick up some groceries, bro. Like
Right.
there was something wrong with this picture, bro. It was something wrong, you know,
Mm.
and it affected me in that way. And I was like, nah, this ain't it. This ain't it. Whatever it is, and it was good for some people who were brought up in that system and all that, but I just didn't find it there, bro. and then it was back to the streets. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Then it was on for me again. I was back in the
Yeah.
streets, and they were there again. Hey, we here for you, man. Let's go. Let's get it on again.
Mm-hmm.
It was only too much later when I just started learning more things, reading a lot of books, finding out much more things, and about philosophy as well. You
Right.
know. Mhm,
Okay.
mhm. So that's my
Okay.
story.
Wow. Okay. You know, that's it's so much even to unpack right there, because
Mhm,
so
mhm,
you went in, you asked God to show himself to you. At
mhm.
that point, did you feel that he showed himself to you at any point in any way?
When I went that first time,
He here calling it he. Go ahead.
right, because it's a strange thing because 2020, hindsight is 2020,
Mm-hmm.
right? We look back, we go, everything's so clear to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying this because this is the deepness of it. The pastor was a Caucasian man with blue eyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is some of the serious and the deepness of it when you're paying attention, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the thing that gets me. How is it that a conqueror can come to your country on boats, right? That looks like that with blue eyes and everything, conquers your people, murders them, rapes your women, right? And then gives you a God that looks just like him and demands that you bow down to it. You
Mm-hmm.
see? You
Yep.
see? You see?
Yep. It's I mean,
Mhm.
and this is why the levels, right? Because and this is why I deal with spiritual technology. I don't just call it spirituality, but to me it's spiritual technology. Because when we look at these older systems, they're dealing with psychology, they're dealing with emotional intelligence, they're dealing with somatic intelligence, tapping of the body. And you know what I mean? You have a
Right.
traumatic experience, let's tap it out. You know what I'm saying? Let's get it out of that person's body so that they're not
Mm.
absorbing it. It's not going down and now into their fascia and
Mhm. Mhm.
into their muscles, their fascia, and being stored inside their body, right? Because that's what
Mhm.
happens with trauma. It gets stored inside of the body. So
Right.
with a system like that, I feel like the religions, especially the Abrahamic religions that were imposed on people in that way through colonialism, where you had the same person that was beating somebody, beating their back, doing all that stuff.
Mhm.
They say, hey, God looks like me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're coming with a foreign God and saying, this
Yeah.
guy looks like me.
Yeah.
And they're showing these people that God looks like them
Mhm. Mhm.
through force,
Mhm.
right? Because
Mhm.
they're saying if God
Mhm.
didn't allow it, we wouldn't be here doing what we're doing. But this
Right.
is within the will of this God.
Mm. Well, listen, there's scripture also.
Oh,
There's scriptures within the book that
brother.
talks about listening to the slave
Mhm.
master and all of that. More than one scripture. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Know your Bible. Know your Bible. I'm just saying. I'm
you,
just
you,
saying.
you
Okay.
got to. You
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
look, man.
What's that about? Yeah, yeah. Listen. Go
So
ahead. Mhm.
so this. I saw this. It was a video. I don't know if it was on architecture or what. Somebody had sent me the other day,
Mhm.
and she was so fascinating. It was a bunch of rectangular boxes,
Mhm.
and it was just placed together and right next to each other. And the
Mhm.
young lady in the video said, "Look at this. What do you see?" So I
Mhm.
see rectangular boxes. She said, if you show this to somebody, a person that lives in a rural environment, like they showed it to a tribe or something in Africa,
Mhm.
right? And like
Mhm.
95% of the people saw circles.
Mhm.
They saw circles, bro,
Mhm.
because because they don't see the world in boxes, but because we live in this world, we live in this matrix, right? We live in urban environments.
Mhm.
We see boxes, we see rectangles looking at the
Mhm.
same thing. And so
Mhm. Wow.
there's some right. So there's something to be said about people who who is not just having a different worldview. Like we don't perceive the world the same way, and
Mhm, mhm,
it's I think it's only in modern times that we have been duped into thinking that the
mhm,
world is perceived in the same way by everybody who's experiencing this world, and that's just not the case.
mhm,
We don't
mhm,
even see things like we literally don't see things the same way, bro.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah.
Have
Mhm,
you
mhm.
heard the story of when Columbus's boats were first arriving?
Yeah. Why don't you tell me? Go ahead,
And
tell me.
the First Nations, the Native American shaman was looking at the water, trying to determine what was coming. You know, he said, "Oh, something's over there." So he's standing there for days trying to figure out what's coming. He sees something, but he's not. You know what I mean? He doesn't know what it is. Nobody else sees it.
Right, right.
And then finally, it comes into view. He says, "That's a boat."
Mm,
And once he was able to see the boat, then the rest of the people were able to see it.
mm.
But the way the psychologists or the thinkers explain it is that the people had no perception of that type of a boat. Yes, they had boats, you know what I mean?
Right,
But they
right.
didn't have that thing that was coming over the horizon did
Mm,
not exist in their collective conscious at that time. And so
right.
when they were experiencing and seeing it, they didn't see it.
Mm. There's a similar story that comes out of the Caribbeans too, Puerto Rico. They said
Really?
that the natives, when the Spaniards came,
Uh huh.
they didn't see it. The only one who saw it was the shaman, the
This is what
curandero.
I'm saying. This is what I'm
Yeah, he was
saying.
the
Go ahead.
only
Go
one,
ahead.
and he did something to them. Yeah, so that they could see it because
So that
they could
okay.
not see it. But that's the
There you
story,
go.
Yeah, yeah.
There you go. Right. Okay. So we're talking about the same story. And it just explained to me, it explains that you have people like, again, we don't perceive the world in the same way. Different
Mm-hmm.
people are going to perceive it based on their worldview. And
Mm-hmm.
so this goes back to the whole thing with religion, where I think they were very strategic and knew what they were doing. They said, these people have this type of worldview here. So we're
Mm-hmm.
going to come in and we're going to bring this philosophy. Like, I don't think Columbus just started chopping people up. I think they studied them before they started doing the massacring.
Yeah.
I think they studied them
In
well.
his
And
right, yeah. I'm sorry to cut you off.
go
Yeah,
ahead. No,
I
go
I
ahead.
was
Go
thinking
ahead.
about that. Like, in his writings, he did say like, oh, when he got to the Caribbeans, he was like, these people, they're so nice, they're incredible, they're giving. He said this, and then his writing, he said they'll make great workers
Right.
because they're innocent like that.
Right.
But I don't mean to interrupt here, but just for a moment here, brother. Cindy Ashby is saying that my voice is a little bit low. So is there anything that you can do on your side to pick up?
This did. I've been troubleshooting this the whole time, brother.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been
Okay,
troubleshooting
okay,
it the whole time.
okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay. All right, we'll keep going. See how it
I'm
goes.
still working
I
on it.
mean,
Yeah,
hey, look, at least they hear you clearly, and you bring in the fire.
I need them to hear you too.
All right, all right, all right. Well, we'll work on it. We'll see
Yeah,
how it
because
goes.
I told you I'm using a different setup right
That'd be
now, so
cool.
it's just not going the way I wanted to right now.
Okay, okay, okay. So, let's see. He says, if we take a break and she's playing the music, disconnect and then call her, and then we can connect the computer. Send me the link so I can record. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna work because we're going live on my end over here.
Right,
So
right.
we can't we cannot interrupt it.
We're live
Exactly,
on too
exactly.
many different platforms right now.
Yeah, let's see if she can work it out because she is the super producer,
Hmm.
Cindy Ashby.
Yeah.
Okay, so getting back, brother.
Hmm.
So let's talk about how is it that you approach God? What
Well,
are
for
your
one,
ideas on it also?
so okay, so God, for one thing, I really don't use that word too much. I'll use it, if that's the word that people understand, but I don't really call it God because I'm pretty sure that's a Germanic word. And so when we call out to God, like, are we calling out to the same thing? You know, when are different people, when they call out to this deity or this being, are they calling out to the same thing? What is people's perception of this being? My perception, again, is my perception is everything is everything. It's imbued in everything. And the more I quote unquote spiritual I get, the more I am confident that it is everything that we experience, that we're an aspect of this thing that's called God. You know, I call it the Great Spirit, I call it the Creator, you know. Yeah, I probably call it the Great Spirit
Okay.
because I know that that's what people have called it in the past.
Okay.
And to
Okay.
me, that embodies or describes what this thing is. I really don't call it he or she too much because I don't know that it's a he or a she. I don't know that it can be defined in human words and terminology necessarily. I don't think it's a man sitting on a cloud, you know? Could be. It
Mm-hmm.
could be, but I just personally don't think it's somebody that's sit like I don't think it looks like us necessarily,
Mm-hmm. 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 Right,
you
right,
know?
right. That's a deeper rabbit hole too, and yep, let's try to, bring that to another podcast because that's deeper about the images that they're giving us. People just don't realize they should realize. Like there's some things that they're like maybe and we really don't know, but there's some things, brother, that we know for sure. And those are
Right,
some of the images that they're giving us. If there was anybody looking, or if there was anybody like that walked the earth and is not like those images that they're giving us,
right,
brother.
right.
No,
No,
far from that, far.
far from that.
Far from that. Far. They already look scientifically. They know that all humans come from Africa.
Right,
You see, so look how Africans look. That means that all humans look at that at some point, and then there was
right.
other things that must have happened in order for humans to change, and but that's a deeper rabbit hole, right? But tell me about that's how you approach God in that way, right? About the creator of all and in those types. So those are like when you're speaking out, right? When you're addressing this high
Hmm.
power,
Right.
right? But then how is it that you fit that into your daily life? How does that look?
Oof. Well, I pray and I meditate. I pray and I meditate. And when I pray, I'm giving thanks. I'm asking for things. Okay, I'll
Mhm.
tell you straight up, right? When I say my prayers, I say to the creator, the angels, the ancestors, the spirit guides, forces of nature who conspire in my favor. That's
Mm.
how I address whoever, whatever I think is around me.
Mm. Mm.
That's
Are
how I
they
address them.
are they separate things? Because now you're putting, we're talking semantics, right? So are you putting these points on different things, or is it all one thing? So you kind of like,
I think they're part of the universal thing, you know?
mm,
Again, everything is everything. I don't think that, okay, it's like this, right? We live on Earth, we have the wind, we have trees, we
mm,
have dirt, earth, we have water.
mm,
Are these things separate from the earth?
mm,
No, but they act in different ways in our favor, and sometimes they act not in our favor.
mm, mm, mm,
But they are different aspects of the whole of this earth that can be identified.
mm, mm,
And
mm,
so we do have a relationship with them, whether people want to believe it or not.
mm.
We know we have a relationship with the earth because it grows food for us. We put something in it and it grows something for us, right?
Right.
The wind, people might not think that we have a relationship with it, but the wind it largely deals with temperature differentiation, right? Hot and cold.
Mm,
So if it's hot outside and then you go into a shaded area, you might feel a breeze in that area. Why? Because there's a wind or there's something being created, a movement of air, of hot and cold air, or
mm,
warm air moving to a different environment than, and creating a breeze or creating a draft. So
mm,
someone can create that in theory.
mm, mm,
So we
mm,
now have a relationship with the wind, right?
mm,
Same thing with the water, with the oceans. Like people may not think about it this way, but as we interact with the ocean, we are interacting with every aspect of the ocean. So someone jumping in the ocean in New York is going to have some kind of effect everywhere else in the ocean, even if it's just a small ripple that we
mm,
can't necessarily detect.
mm,
You see what I'm saying?
yes, I
And,
do.
and so the ancients, they understood this science on a deeper level where they're dealing with the unseen. So the reactions and the feedback that they're getting from these systems is a lot more pronounced than what we understand right now.
Mm, mm, I see. I see. So,
So to
so,
me, to know they're not separate.
right. Okay. So then, so now, Cameron has gotten home for the day. It was a long day, and like, when you get home, is there a space where you go to and say, or is it like you just take your time where you address these things no matter what?
I take time.
Mm, mm,
I just take time, and
okay. Okay.
because right now I would say the space right now is really the bedroom for me.
Mm, 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 mm,
There's been times when I had an altar,
mm.
and I'm definitely gonna set up an altar again.
Right.
It's just about, to me, it's about dedicating a space that's gonna be used for that and
Mm,
just that. And
mm,
so that's how I approach it. But if nothing else, I'm doing it like I'll say my prayers and meditations when I rise and then when I go to sleep.
right.
And even if it's not every day, like I do my best to be consistent with that.
Mm, 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 mm. How about during the day? Are you still in communion?
All day,
Mm,
all day. I'm
mm.
walking through life in a meditation,
Right. Right.
and so, and the more that I do that, the more that this world is so mystical, brother. There's
Mm,
so many things about
hmm.
this world that oh man, like I'm amazed every day,
Yeah.
every
I
day.
I agree 1,000%. I like I've said many times before. People just they're not paying attention.
Yeah,
Just pay attention. There's many things going on around here. You'd be amazed to see some of the things that are unfolding, right? Most people call it coincidence, but there's no
right,
coincidences. No,
right.
no, there's something else going on here. And I could tell you, for me,
Mm-hmm.
we used to have an altar, right? But then
Mm.
we had kids, right? And then it was on this tall wooden, holding a glass, a very thick glass on the top. So as the kids got older, they started like
Mm.
hanging from it, like, yeah, and like, oh no, no, we can't do that. So we put it away. But some of the
Mm-hmm.
items we keep them around, and these items, they're pleasing to us. Whatever they are.
Mm.
They're
Okay.
symbols. They're symbols of our ancestors too. And
Right.
and respect out of like my ancestors are from the island of Puerto Rico,
Mm-hmm.
right? I know that, right? But I'm also aware of some of the history that I had to uncover for myself. Is that a
Mm.
lot of those indigenous people from the islands were the Arawaks, and the Arawaks came from South America, and
Right.
they ended
Right.
up over there. And one of the stories that I love, and I'm a big history buff. One of the stories I love is that, um, how did they find the islands when they got into the boat? How did they
Yes.
how did they find that? You can't see it with the nature. You don't know which way. How would you know? And one of the stories is that they would get into the boat and then lean back and put their feet outside of the boat, their legs in the water, and they would just feel the rhythm of the ocean. They would just feel the rhythm, and they would go, it's that way, and then they would know which way to go. Yeah,
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 I
yeah,
remember when you first told me that. That really did blow my mind, brother.
yeah, yeah. They were such in touch with
Right.
nature, and the planet, and seeing God in all of these things. You already know that indigenous
Hmm.
people seeing the spirit of God in everything, every rock, every leaf, every
Right.
every blow of wind, every fish, every animal, every blade of grass, all of that, you
Yeah.
know.
It. Bro. And so I'm at the point now where I realized. I think Lauren Hill said it. She said, "I and I can't be justified by these laws of man." Like we're at this point, and Bob Marley said, "You know what I mean? Like we can't be." I'm sure it's probably in the Bible too. We can't be
Mm,
because
mm,
where they're at right now,
mm,
modern society, they haven't caught up to what our ancestors knew very well. Because then all they can say is those people didn't get in those boats and do that. It's okay. Well,
mm,
those are the
mm.
stories that were passed down. So what am I going to believe? That
Right.
just because you don't understand how they did it,
Mm,
I'm supposed to believe that they
right.
did not do it.
Yeah, and then the crazy thing is that at some point they tell you the story in a different way. They go, oh, the molecular struggle by the Frabolus with the zero. I'm like, that's the
Right.
same thing we were telling you all this
It's the
time,
same thing.
bro.
And 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 they're at the place in their science, quote unquote science, where they need to prove everything. Like they're not going off of this happened. Let's figure out how it happened. They're going off of it can't
Mm-mm.
be what y'all are saying.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
let's do this whole experiment to figure
mhm,
out how like there's they when there's certain grains of cotton or certain strain of cotton that exist in the Americas that was originally found in Africa
mhm,
pre-Columbus, right? This
mhm,
goes back to they came before Columbus. So
mhm,
scientists said, "Oh, it must have floated across the ocean in a current and then grew wild and so they tried all these hypotheses and it didn't work."
right.
Meanwhile, people are like, "Nah, they were brought over in boats by Africans and there was trade between the First Nations here and the First Nations in Africa. That's how it happened." Well,
That's
that
how it
can't
happened.
be. That can't be. So
Yeah,
we're gonna
yeah.
come up with this preposterous theory on how it happened without dealing with the facts of
Right.
there's crops that were from there over here and crops that are from here over there. How did
Mm,
this
mm.
happen? And you tell me that there was no cultural exchange. It's ridiculous. And so this is
Yeah,
why
yeah.
I'm just at the point where I'm not even going to pay attention to what they're talking about on certain subjects because they
Mm,
haven't reached that cognitive level yet of this happened. Like, okay, brother, look at
mhm,
all these ancient structures, all these ancient pyramids and temples. Have you seen the temples in India and in
mhm,
the Indus Valley?
mhm. Yep,
You
that's
know,
what I tell people all the time. Look to India. You want to know what's been going on in this planet? You really want to know? That's a great place you can look
yes,
right there in India with diamond cutting technology, bro. You
right,
would have to have that in order to work with these stones and cut them like glass, bro.
right. And their
It goes
record
on and
keeping.
on.
Mwah. You know what I mean? Their record keeping is phenomenal. They go back, they count ages in the millions, the hundreds of millions of years. How do
Yep.
y'all explain that?
Yeah, I
How
was learning. I'm
go
sorry,
ahead,
go
go
ahead.
ahead, go ahead, brother. Go
I was
ahead,
gonna
man.
I was gonna say that the library in Alexandria, right? They
Yes.
purposely burned that because it was all of this knowledge that they were like, nah, we want to control this. We have to burn it. But they said after that they kept burning. They went to all libraries, not just that one. They went to all libraries. The Crusades
They
they went out to burn all the libraries.
they everywhere. They think
Yep.
they did it. Think about the Americas. Like people like,
Yeah.
oh, they were pre-literate. They didn't have writing. No, they had writing
Yeah.
systems,
Yep.
writing
Counting
systems.
also. They
And
came to zero. Yeah. Mm.
when they burned the books, they were burning for days, weeks,
Yeah.
months.
Yeah.
How
Popol
many
Vuh.
books? You know what I'm saying? Right, Popol Vuh.
Yep.
How
Mm.
many books? And these aren't just scrolls; these are books, bound books.
Yeah.
How
Mm.
many books
Mm.
did y'all have to burn for weeks and months?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
what was in there?
Yeah.
And then
What they say. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, man, come on now,
I
jump
was
in,
gonna.
brother. That's how we do.
No,
That's how we
it's
do.
hard. It's super hard. I know this is a hot
Yeah,
one because and all I get of all these thoughts that are flooding,
go
and
ahead.
they were saying that it was some of the Crusaders. you know, it was thanks to some of them that were able to take some of those books and hide
Yes.
them, and they
Yes.
ended up bringing them out to the Middle East and
Yes.
giving it to those libraries where there was huge institutions where they were teaching people all kinds of things: calculus, algebra, science,
Yes.
medicine, and they was like, yo, here, take these books. And
Yeah.
that's why we know of some of them, because if
Wow.
not, there was even a story about in the Popol Vuh. That's why
Mhm.
we have some of them, because the same priest that was saying, "Yeah, burn him and kill," he had a change of heart, and he and
Oh.
he and he and he took one or two and he hid
Yep.
them.
Yep.
Yep.
You got this guy, Sahagun. If you ever heard of him, I think he was one of the ones who did that. Like,
Mm,
yeah, they were doing the burning, but he was also doing some recording too. And so
mm,
there's this account. I'm still looking for it because they were saying that when they interacted with Montezuma or Moctezuma
mm,
over here,
mhm,
was it Moctezuma? It was Moctezuma. They
mm,
were saying that when the missionaries came to this side, there was churches, there was mosques in the Americas. There was
mm,
churches and mosques. There were people that looked like Africans over here that were
mm.
practicing the religions that are only supposed to be over there on the other side of the water. They were practicing
Right.
systems,
Right.
scientific systems that were in line with that. And a lot of those are the books that were burned. I'm still looking for the translations of these texts at this point. But
Mm,
Sahagun, Sahagun, and they were talking about how you had these peoples living in harmony. Like, think about the way in Jerusalem, how it used to be, right? You had people who were so-called Christians, so-called Jews, and so-called Muslims who were living in harmony with each other,
yeah,
where
that's
they
right.
weren't at war with each other necessarily. Even what we understand of these different religions is different from what they actually are, you
Mm,
know? Like the Bible, I remember I was in a humanities class, brother, and
mm,
they were it was so we was talking about the Bible, right? And they
mm,
were explaining in the class that when the Bible came out, the King James version came out, they protested it for 80 years, 80
mm.
years, because they were like, that's not what that book says, that's not
Wow.
what you like, what, I don't know what y'all. 80
Wow.
years they protested it before they
Wow.
finally beat it in people's heads like, nah,
Mm,
that's it.
mm. I also think about when me and my wife went to
Mm,
Chichen Itza in Cancun, right?
mm-hmm.
Cancun means a nest of snakes, because when they got there, there was all kinds of snakes there. So that's what
Wow.
Cancun stands for. But Chichen
Mm,
Itza is one of the pyramids there. It's compared to the calendar, because if you add up all the steps, it's 364, and
yes.
then the top portion is the 365, and
Yes.
their calendar is much more accurate than the one you already know, that
Right.
the Gregorian calendar here,
Right.
where they add in a leap year and all that. And yeah, come on, man,
Yeah.
please, man,
R-
stop that. But
Right.
I'm sorry, this is my point. I'm getting a little
Go
bit
ahead.
away.
Go ahead. No, no,
My
no. Go
point
ahead,
is,
brother.
when we went to Chichen Itza, um the mathematical architect that was there was incredible. You stand in front of the Great Pyramid and you clap your hands. I don't know if you know this one. It makes a sound of shing, 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 shing,
Oh,
shing.
I've heard of this. I've heard of
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Okay.
So they say that some of the priests were using it, saying that was a
Mm-hmm.
Quetzalcoatl, which was the feathered, the bird, the feathered serpent, right?
Right.
But my point is that on one of the glyphs that were there, on the temple in the pyramids, it shows different characters bringing tribute to the king at the time, guys with turbans and different
Yes.
robes, and they were coming
Yes.
from other parts of the world, from Africa, from India, from
Yes.
all of that, bro. It's right
Yes.
there. There was transatlantic
Th-
communications, bro.
Right. There was people coming from the east and the west, just like you said. And this is the thing, like people, we've always been international. Humans have always been
Mhm,
international, and they
mhm,
were traveling around to these
mhm.
different parts of the world, and they were sharing information and
Yes.
traditions with each other.
Yeah. In Chichen Itza too, you see a lot of the stone carvings, it's like the elephant. They see the elephant
Yes.
trunk, and there was like the elephants. There's no elephants there.
Right, and people
There's
try
no
to
elephant,
and they try to
right?
explain it away
Yeah,
again.
right,
Well, that even though it has a trunk and tusks and look like it's not an elephant, like, well,
right. Yeah,
maybe it's an
yeah,
elephant.
yeah. It
Maybe
is.
it's
It
some
is. Yeah.
people who experienced elephants.
Right.
Have you ever heard the story? Thousands of years ago, hundreds of thousands of years ago, whatever, hundreds or thousands of years ago,
Mhm.
where an African king sent a giraffe to China. China had this mythological creature, and once they described it, oh yeah, that's the giraffe. And so they sent it, I think, from southern Africa through the Indian Ocean, either through the Indian Ocean
Mm,
or around the Horn of Africa, the bottom of Africa, and sent it into the Indian Ocean
mm,
to
mm,
China as a gift to
mm.
the emperor over there. A giraffe
Ooh.
on a boat, brother.
Right. Yeah. Good.
And this ain't a legend. This
Yeah.
is like this really happened. You know what I mean?
Right.
What
Mm,
type of technology, what type of navigation were they dealing with? What type
mm,
of resource? And again, it's not like they
mm,
just gonna send this creature over there in a shoddy condition. This is a gift for the
mm.
emperor. So you got to make sure that that giraffe is fed, it's comfortable, it's not traumatized, it's in tip
Right.
top shape. It's not
Right.
during monsoon season. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like the level of sophistication that had to exist for this to happen.
Yeah. And then all of these other belief systems too, that they come with all of these ideas about, who is the creator, and how would you address that, and these different ceremonies that take place, because you start to notice that in different parts of the world they start to address God or the higher power in a certain way that is very similar to other parts of the world. Not exactly,
Mhm.
but almost just like it, bro.
Yep. Yep.
No.
It's true. And so for me, and where I'm at right now in my studies, a lot of that originates in the Happy Valley, or what we call the
Mm,
Nile Valley, right?
mm,
So
mm,
I'll tell you why I think that, because
mm,
we see portions of that, or we see, like you said, it's very similar, even if it's a little bit different in other parts of the world, right?
mm, mm,
So we know in the Happy Valley, they believed in a creator, an all-encompassing creator, right? But when you start to go into maybe China and like the Buddhist faith, like they don't believe in any type of deity, right? They don't believe in any type of intelligence. They don't say that there's not one, but they don't
right.
believe one, they don't practice one, they don't speak to one or commune
Mm,
with one, right?
mm,
But if you look at something like Tai Chi, or excuse me, Qi Gong, in these practices, these
mm,
internal arts, what are they doing? They're preparing the body. They're basically preparing the body and the soul for when it transitions, so that they can consciously transition into their next life.
mhm,
Well,
mm,
that goes right back to the Happy Valley,
mhm,
where
mhm,
you had a
mhm,
people whose whole existence was based on the judgment
mm, mm.
and being judged, and going to
Wow.
the world.
Wow.
And
Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. That's incredible.
right.
You so look, man, we've said so much, and I just want to bring it back a little bit and
Hmm.
tell you that for me, um for me, God is everywhere and in everything as well, especially in me, you
Hmm.
see.
Right.
So I'll tell you that I am God, right? So
Right.
usually when you tell that to people, they'll be like, "Man, this guy, he's way out, bro. You ain't God." He go make it rain. It's not like that.
Right.
It's not like that. It's more like, um, my child is me. You
Right.
see, it's like that.
Right.
My child is me.
Right.
Everything inside of my child is me. I help to create that. So here is a creator that is the master designer, the master architect, the top level artistic designer. Okay.
Right.
And 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 the story goes that God or the creator, blew breath in our lungs. You know,
Hmm.
for me, it's a simple way of saying, I gave you life. I created you.
Right.
You see, but let's say you were going to create something, right? You were going to create some sort of thing that represented you. What would you do to that thing? What would you put inside of them? How would you make them feel? You would want them to want you, You would want them to look for you. You're the
Right.
creator. You wouldn't want them to ignore you. No, or
Mm,
not even know that you exist. No, no. You would
mm.
want that. You would be sending them messages.
So let me bring. I like that. Let me bring this to another place now. Right. Think about a mother. Right. That carries the baby for 9 months. Then the baby comes out of that mother.
Mm,
Whether the mother wants that baby to do that or not, the baby
mm,
has to, because the baby is now being fed and nurtured from this mother. The
mm,
baby has been incubated in that
mm,
womb for 9 months, for
mm,
39 weeks, and now is relying on that mother for its sustenance,
mm, 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 mm,
right?
mm. Right.
So imagine now that relationship with the
Mhm,
creator, right?
mhm, mhm, mhm,
We're relying on it for sustenance.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Right. Right. I feel so too. I
You see,
feel so.
you see what I'm saying? Like, even you
Yeah. Yeah.
take out the whole
Mm,
wanting this and that, it's like,
mm,
nah, but
mm,
we're also
mm,
in
mm.
that relationship with it.
Right. And we should be. We should be. It's something that's been going on for a long time, since the beginning of time. I mean,
Mhm.
scientists, modern day scientists, they'll give you all sort of descriptions on how humans relate to it, because I have this book. I can't remember the name of it, but I know that it was getting into how humans addressed God in the beginning, and there was like animalism, right?
Oh yeah,
The
animism they call it, right?
animism.
Animism,
Thank you, right?
right,
Which still exists too.
right.
I got a really good friend, super spiritual guy, man. I mean, he got the call directly from the, and
Mhm.
but he also sees God in, the raccoon, the beaver, the
Right.
hawk. He sees it and worships it that with respect and reverence in those things. Um, but there's also another interesting point too that I wanted to make, that in the beginning, that they could basically see the history of humans on the planet. They were worshiping a female deity. Do you know about that? Right? You
Thank you.
know
And
you know
that's why
about
I
that,
said the mother. And that's why I said the mother, brother. That is
right?
exactly why I said the mother.
You know that figure, that carved figure of the
Yes.
woman with the
Yes.
oversized breasts and the
Yes.
oversized buttocks, and the
Yes.
and which symbolizes, the fruitfulness of the mother giving you. She's full of nurturing, the milk and substance of everything. It's that symbol, and they found that figure all over the planet. The same
Yes.
one. The same one.
Brother, I'm so glad you went, because that's exactly why I brought that up, because there was a time where they understood God as female, as nurturing, because that was their closest reference point. This is what the mother does. So if everybody comes from a mother, then everybody must come from a mother.
For sure, for sure. Eh, you know, Listen, man. This might be a spoiler alert right here, but
Go ahead.
in the beginning, when they first started writing the Bible and the books that they were looking at, God had a wife. Yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah. But they,
shoot.
but that didn't that they after a while it didn't jive with the story, so they went, and then they started looking at women as lower too. So
Right.
they was like, yeah, we got to take the woman out. They tried to
Well,
fit her in. They tried to fit her. They was like, no, 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 let's take her out. Yeah.
look at the different trinities that have existed. Now this modern trinity is Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Like,
Mm,
it's not even Holy Spirit is too close to something
mm,
feminine in my view.
right.
But it's like, what
Yeah.
happened to father, mother, or mother,
Right.
father,
Yeah.
child?
Child. What about that? Yeah. No, they wasn't going with that. But yeah, if God is either a man or woman, God is more of a female, if anything.
Hmm.
Creator, loving, compassionate, forgiving, provider. Come
Right.
on now. This is not men's trait. This is not a masculine traits.
No.
No, no,
No. Are
no.
are you familiar with the Sibyls? I might have brought them up to you before.
Mm,
The
go ahead.
Sibyls. All religions come from the Sibyls, brother. Those were the
Mm,
women, those were the sisters that, like, even if you look far
mm,
deep enough back into the Bible, right? It comes from
mm,
the Sibyllian teachings and what
mm,
they were recording for
mm,
thousands of years before there was even any patriarchal type religion. And the
mm,
Sibyls, when you talk about the fall of the divine feminine,
mm,
that's what happened. There was a
mm,
concerted effort to take out the Sibyls. The Sibyls were the oracles. Every
mm,
emperor, every king in ancient
mm,
times used to go to the Sibyls to get guidance. You know what I mean? They'd get their
mm,
blessings, they get their guidance from. The Sibyls would sit there in meditation and prayer all day. That's what they would
mm,
do. These temples that they would go to, that the different people would go to, people would travel far and wide to go to these temples to be
mm,
cleansed, to be healed, because it wasn't just it was prayer, it was meditation, but these were also hospitals. You know what I'm saying? People would go there with all type of ailments, and this is where the sisters were dealing with them. They would give them the herb, they would give them the baths, they would give them, you know what I'm saying? They would pray over them. Like, this is a real thing that existed in human society, brother. They say that the Sibyls are the ones that built the megaliths, the
mm,
megalithic structures. It was
mm,
the
mm.
sisters that built that
Wow, wow, wow. That's incredible. I
all over
do
the earth.
know of them, like they were the oracles, right? At
The
Adelphi,
oracles.
and
Yes.
they were also in different locations too. And if anybody has ever seen the movie 300, right, where
Oh,
Leonidas and then he goes
yes.
to the oracle and stuff like that. Yes, so I'm
Right.
aware of it, and I've seen other things too, where people would go sort of like in this chamber, and
Hmm.
they would speak, and then the oracle would give some sort of something that she received, and then there would be some smoke that would come up from a lower chamber. They don't know exactly
Mm.
what was that the person received,
Oh,
but
wow.
they said chances are it was psychoactive too.
Wow. Now,
Yeah.
okay, so let me, right. So think about this, right? If you look at all the prophets in all the major religions, right? Well, I
Mm.
think we spoke about this the other day. What's one action that they all took?